A very good evening all. I'm Professor Soumya from the team GIBS Business School, Bengaluru. We are all connected as a part of GIBS IRE Talks. The IRE Talks forum brings together the inspirational speakers to deliver sessions related to innovation, research, and entrepreneurship. Today's IRE topic is Principles of Innovation. At GIBS, we want to ensure that this investment in innovation and research creates a real impact by implementing meaningful education, original research, evidence-based insights, and leadership in innovation. We aim to empower students with the right resources needed to drive innovation and changes across the nation with the help of our research, innovations, and business center. Our Research, Innovations and Business Center provides a variety of research and education opportunities that allow our students to examine a broad array of disciplines. GIBS IRE Innovation Research and Entrepreneurship School is a complete action learning school. IRE school trains and equips the first year PGDM students on innovation, research and entrepreneurship through activities, workshops, expert sessions and many more. So I welcome all participants to this IRE talks on behalf of GIBS family. Please allow me to talk a few words about GIBS Business School before we begin. Global Institute of Business Studies is a place where talents are nurtured, ambitions are cherished, ideas shared, and dreams fulfilled. GIBS Business School is a part of Goel Education Trust, which is an exclusive business school based in Bengaluru, Karnataka. GIBS Business School provides an AICTE approved PGDM program and BBA from Bangalore University. To prepare students for success, GIBS designed the Industry 4.0 curriculum and introduced a number of unique programs for GIBS students like Innovation, Research and Entrepreneurship Program, Finishing School, Sports Management Certification Program, and Business Mastery Program, etc. Since our inception, we have an excellent placement record. Our students have been determined to be industry ready by the majority of the biggest corporates. Throughout the course, we ensure that there is a proper balance of practical and theoretical knowledge. In 2021, GIBS has ranked AAA by Career 360, 11th Emerging School by Times of India, 19th Best B School of Eminence in India, and 12th Best B School in Karnataka by Competitive Success Review. GIBS feathered by Forbes India as a new age B school and the best emerging B school by Outlook 2022. I would like to extend a warm greetings to Ms. Aparna Vellala, founder and CEO of DataFly. She is the resource person of today's IRE talk. Madam, we are grateful that you accepted the invitation to participate in the webinar as a keynote speaker. Madam, it's my pleasure to moderate your session. And today, IRE topic is Principles of Innovation. It's my honor to introduce Ms. Aparna Vellala to the distinguished audience. Aparna Vellala is an expert in data science, artificial intelligence, and leadership with over 20 years of IT expertise in software product innovation and solution engineering. She is the founder and CEO of DataFly. She has mentored and counseled numerous startups companies. She is a strategist with extensive expertise of artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning, data science, and cloud computing. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting the invitation. I request all the participants to pose a question or doubts in the Q&A session. We will take it up at the end of the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Professor Soumya. It's my pleasure to talk to all the young minds. So I'm very, very excited about it. So any questions, please feel free to ask, make a note and you can drop in the Q&A because this is a webinar I may not be able to address immediately. However, towards the end of the session, I would definitely answer. I also request all the participants to make a note of what you have learned today and also mention that in the Q&A session towards the end or whenever you feel like. it would be my pleasure that I'm actually contributing and helping all the young minds to do innovation, and that is one my motto in my life as well. So hope you will enjoy the session. Let's move on, okay? So I'm pretty sure that you all would be having, I'll move this a little bit down, yeah. You'll be having a lot of questions in your minds, right? So you must be thinking that, oh, how can I innovate? Typically, anyone who comes up newly, right? Even when I started innovation, I was wondering, how can I innovate? What is this innovation, right? First in mind that occurs. So, but then when we actually go through and then we kind of start working on ideating, etc., and then we learn the process, that's when we realize that, yeah, this is something interesting, and I want to do it further in my life, in everything, whatever we do, correct? So let's see that. First, let's look at some of the questions I've already kind of listed them out. If I missed out anything to answer, please make it a note in Q&A. I would definitely answer them towards the end. Okay, let's move on to the next set of questions, right? So this is something that I was wondering, that to see all of you guys, most of you are working in the management, right? All are learning MBA and postgraduate diploma programs, etc. So some of you must be thinking, I'm not a technologist. Why should I learn innovation, right? I'm not an engineer. I'm in operations. I'm taking care of finances. So how is it relevant for me? I'm a marketer. How innovation is relevant for me? It is really not required for me, right? Because traditionally, if we usually think that innovation is something that only need to be done by engineers or some research personnel or somebody who's scientist, right? That's not true. So innovation is as we go on, we learn that innovation is something that we are trying to bring in value add in any organization. Or we are trying to solve small problems, and those problems, when we solve, they become innovation. And we learn the process of that, and also, of course, the principles, what we need to keep in mind in order to achieve that. So what do you expect in this session? You would know, I would not do any hands-on in this session. I would go through the high-level principles and techniques of innovation. And one thing that I expect everyone to do is, you please go ahead and start innovating, however small it is. And you will not stop with one, you will just start with one. Okay? So we'll look at some of these things, right? What is problem solving? And how creativity, imagination, and ideation are relevant for innovation. And what is the motivation for me to innovate? So these are some of the questions that we are going to see. So say an innovation is nothing but it's a relevant offering of product, service, process, or experience. So when we look at all these four sectors, it's not just products. Why I'm mentioning this, again emphasizing, is because it's not just in products that we do innovation. We can do innovation in services, we can do innovation in processes, we can do innovation in user experience or any experience for that matter. And innovation is something that should bring in value, that should be novel, that means it should be new, it should be useful, and it has to be relevant to the current problem that we are trying to solve. So before we move on to ideation and imagination, I would move on to the next slide, where I have listed down few of the examples for innovation, right? In the current, probably in the last 10 years or so, that I think of are innovations that have happened, which are very impactful. So in the services segment, products definitely everybody knows, like for example, smartphone is one of the examples. So it's a product and we know that everybody is using smartphone. Yeah, we know what it is, right? When it comes to services, what are the areas which have innovated and which are the companies that have innovated and then created a very, very big impact to the society as well as they have grown themselves, right? some of them are Uber and Ola. And all of us know Uber and Ola. We are using for last so many years, right? Before Uber and Ola, how the world was. Does any of you know? I'm pretty sure you're all new, so you wouldn't be knowing. So I'll just explain how it was earlier, right? So when I used to work in Electronic City and I had to take a taxi, right? In the evening, if let's say if it's 8 or 9 and I work late night, all I had to do is, there used to be only 2 or 3 local taxi hubs. Okay, they'll be providing taxi services within Electronic City. So you kind of call them and you ask them, do you have cab available at this time? And then they might say yes. If they say no, they will make you wait for another 1 hour. This is how the life was. So think of Uber and Ola, how they have created. They have used the current technologies. What are the technologies they have used? They have used GPS. They have used, of course, mobile smartphones with applications and our data, right? Especially the phone number and all these. And then they have connected us with so many taxi providers. It's not just one hub. It is taxis everywhere in Bangalore. If they think that, okay, you're ready to pay, they will immediately come and then pick you up from anywhere, right? So that is the kind of transition that they did to the market itself, right? So they created a new market by itself by creating these services. So of course, let's move on to the other 2 segments that, we are our favorites, right? Swiggy, Zomato. So what are they doing? They're just doing food delivery system, right? Nothing but they have food delivery done to different customers. So how helpful it is. We are very happy and the restaurants are very happy, and also they're creating new jobs for so many people who are actually coming and then doing deliveries, right? Similar is Airbnb, OYO, we can very much relate to, because they are again into the vacation home renting or hotel booking systems, etc. I would want you to go over a couple of more interesting systems which are in the services domain, right? They are virtual customer services. What is this virtual customer service? It sounds like, crazy or difficult to me, right? But then it's a very simple system. See, for example, I will log into some websites. Maybe I log into some schools or somewhere, right? Then there is this chatbot which is going to ask me question, hi, how are you? What do you need, etc., right? So the chatbot is actually not somebody who's really kind of typing out, but it's a virtual chatbot, right? Robot, right? Virtual one. So it is doing the customer service. It's also, along with, doing the service, it's also collecting the customer information, right? So I'm pretty sure what's the use of collecting customer information? When the customer information is collected, it is storing into a database or somewhere, and then it's used by all the marketers to find out who are these customers. Can I do segmentation of these customers and then, see out of these customers, how many are interested in this particular service, how many are in another service, interested in another service, right? And that is exactly where innovation can be done by marketers. Okay, I hope now all of you, whoever is looking at marketing, can think that, okay, oh, my area is coming. I want to really contribute and do innovation in my own area. Now let's look at human resources. So there is something called as application tracking system. I'm pretty sure you must have heard of it, if not the name. Today, when we apply for jobs, right, our resumes are not really scanned by humans. They are scanned by robots. So they are the natural language processing robots which are going to look at and then find out, do a match for the job profile and see that these particular people who have applied are really relevant for this job profile, and then that is what is matching them. So this is an innovation that's happening in the HR field, right? Human resources. how can you avail that? And then include that into the process of recruitment. That is an area where innovation can happen in almost most of the companies, which is not really happening. Only few companies, bigger companies are having this today, right? But that would happen over a period of time. This is one area that HR or anybody in that area working should really look at. Now let's move on to a few of the processes, right? This also, of course, it has to be integrated into process. And let's look at other processes which are there. One of the very important example that I would like to highlight is Amazon delivery process. Why Amazon? Because all of us use Amazon. So how does the Amazon delivery, or for that matter, ordering system works, right? When we order, it's just, this is a customer ordering, a purchase order is going to vendor, because Amazon is dealing with multiple vendors. They're not handling everything by themselves. They're not shopping. I mean, they're not having the shops themselves, right? They are coordinating with the shops in order that the vendors, in order that they provide, and Amazon just provides a service. However, they automated the delivery process. So the vendor would just ship, the payment will happen, all the details are updated in the database. When the payment happens, the vendor would get an update. Okay, now is the time you can ship, and then the vendors would ship. When the shipping happens, earlier Amazon didn't have this SMS system where they used to update us saying that, okay, today the delivery is happening. So we used to just wait 3 days to 1 week and then wonder, oh, when my delivery is happening. And then I had to log in and then go and check always in Amazon, oh, is it really happening or not? When would the delivery happen? But today what happens is we get SMS saying today the delivery will happen from so and so time and so delivery person is going to come, etc. Right? It's up to us how much details we want. So this is the delivery process improvement that Amazon did. The SMS sending an SMS with the details of what time the delivery will happen. So what I'm saying is the whole process, you don't need to work same time. All you need to do is bring in that small additional feature or something that will bring in value add, and that itself is an innovation, right? Similar is supply chain process system, wherein we can use barcodes, and the barcodes are used. Even in Amazon, we'll see barcodes. However, there are a lot of many supply chain processes that are being used by different retail chains, right? So what do? They look at the incoming inventory, what's outgoing inventory, and they do inventory management. How many can fit in a shop, etc. Right? So when they do the inventory count, they also know that this particular, for example, let's say jams. Jam is packed in certain shape, right? So how many of these bottles can fit in? Because it's again attached with the rental for the shop, right? If I'm having a shop in a very premium locality. I don't want to really pay too much of rental, right? I want inventory management to be much more effective. So how can I do that effective inventory management? What is the problem that's existing in my current retail shop, right? When we manage a shop, or it's not just a shop, a retail chain or something, a bigger one. So these are the areas I'm pretty sure we'll find issues or problems. They might sound like small. However, when we resolve, it creates a big impact on the cost. And hence, these are the areas which I want to just highlight to you so that you can think of them as innovation areas and then look at them with much more keenly, pay a little more attention, and then keenly you can watch on them and then try to come up with your ideas, ideate yourself and then come up with those and then make a difference to the society as well as your organizations, at the same time to your own growth, right? So similarly is assembly process. So Dell computers, cars, you can look at anything. There are so many assembly processes that keep happening in the factories, very big factories. Food is another area where, of course, assembly process is there, right, in all those factories. chip manufacturing. So we can look at all these. These are the processes which need constant improvement and innovations. And the technology keeps changing. And as the technology changes, we should be aware of and we should be able to add on to these things. And the last but not the least is user experience. So how user experience plays a role, right? So as you can see here in the picture, there's a 3D try-on, right? Which means that, let's say I'm wearing a lens, I'm wearing a spectacles. How does it look on my face? I want to experience that before I buy. The more expensive the product, the more user experience we have to give to the user in order that they know the look and feel beforehand, right? To resolve the problems. That customer satisfaction, when the customer is satisfied, we can sell more and more. And that is exactly what we have to do. And these are the things that we can leverage today using augmented reality, virtual reality, create experience. And if we see, we are able to see that these are exclusively used for dresses, jewelries, cosmetics, what not, right? I'm pretty sure that it's going to come up for, sports shoe as well, right? So these are the things that we should focus on in innovation area, some of the areas that I just want to highlight. I'm pretty sure there are many, which I may not be able to cover, but some of them that I would want you to focus on. And the next example that I want to quote is WeWork. WeWork is a personalized workspaces with affordable costs. That means, like basically you can go and tell, I need a conference room with 8. They would immediately convert it and then give it off like within no time. So we have workspace created in no time. Similar to how Amazon came up with, and then, they said that you don't need to create a data center. The moment you want, like I want 10 servers, they will give you immediately. And the same thing is applied to physical space here instead of computer servers. So let's go back and then now look at what is ideation and what is imagination, right? So ideation is nothing but a process of developing ideas, which means that you might have many ideas, right? I want to solve, okay, I know that this particular problem exists. I can solve it this way, that way, so many ways to solve that. But what is the right way? What is the right thing that is, that would solve the problem is something that we'll have to brainstorm with multiple people, right? And also look at what are the means that we have. For example, what is the funds that we have? What is the infra that we have? So many other constraints, right? When we look at all those and we come up with our idea, we brainstorm and analyze and fix one implementation, which is successful, that is what is called innovation. So we should never stop ideating. When we stop ideating, we cannot innovate, right? Now, let's look at what is that is allowing us to do ideation. And that's nothing but your imagination and creativity. All of us know that I can dream of tomorrow, how my day has to be tomorrow, right? And that is exactly what is imagination. So it's something that happens in your mind, how you want to see your tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure all of you are going to think of tomorrow and come up with your own thoughts and then start ideating, brainstorm with others, come up and then do innovations. So happy innovations and all the best to you. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, what are the principles that we need to focus on? So yeah, we discussed about this already, right? So one is about the funds. What are the required things for me to innovate? Funds, infra. The third thing is, of course, people. How many people do I need to, and who are required for me to innovate? So it all depends on which particular area you are working on, and that particular expertise people should have. For example, I might have an idea in HR, innovation. However, I'm not an HR expert. Can I do innovation all by myself? Of course not, right? I'll have to go and meet the HR and try to understand what is the existing process and how do I do innovation in that particular area. I know there's a problem. However, I cannot solve it myself, though, however technical I am. So that is where people come in and collaboration comes into place. So you have to collaborate with people in order to solve problems. And here is one of the one of the interesting one that I see. When we have a problem, we see that as a weight, right, on us. Whereas when you solve a problem, it's actually creating, you see it as an opportunity. You're playing with it. You're trying to solve it. And then once you're played with it and you created it, it's going to give you back so much that you would want to innovate further and further and further. So this is a cycle. So we need to, it's just that how we see it. We see the problem, there's a problem, yeah, then we're stuck. You see that as an opportunity, then you're trying to solve the problem, and at the same time, you're growing yourself. So these are some of the techniques by Saras D. Saras. You can check for the effectuation techniques. So these are very, very well known, and my favorite, these techniques are my favorite techniques as well. The first thing is about resources. What are the resources that we have? We have to consider, use the resources and solve the problem all by within that means, right? And the second one is, however we solve problems, we are working on day to day, we will always have some mistakes. We would be doing mistakes, right? And that gives opportunity for us. If this particular thing happens, we can foresee them. If this particular thing happens, what's the contingency? What could I do in order to solve that? And this particular issue happens, what do I do? You already foresaw that and you're keeping them in ready with the contingencies, right? So you leverage the contingencies and create market, do whatever required, right? That's how we should solve the problem. And the third important one is about creating new partnerships. How many other partnerships you can create to solve, in case if I do not have funds, I may want to create partnership, I may want to create a new direction. Oh, this is not the right way to solve this problem because this is expensive, I want to do in some other way. So this technique is called crazy quilt. And the fourth one is, of course, knowing that what is it that we are ready to lose? Affordable loss. What is it that we are ready to lose? I am ready to lose only X dollars or X bucks, right? If you're willing to lose that much, you would invest to solve that particular problem that much. Beyond that, we cannot. So that is something that you need to understand. We cannot, have infinite resources always, right? And the fifth one is, my favorite, pilot in the plane, which is nothing but you predict and create your own future, which means that you do not wait. If I wait, it's going to crash. If I take a decision now, it won't crash, right? Maybe it will not crash. It may have some other consequence, but it will not crash. So you should not wait, for everybody to kind of solve the problems, and we should not wait. Then if we wait for a long time, we lose opportunity. Because this is something that really happened to me piloting the plane. That's why it's one of my favorite, it's my learning as well. I was working and trying to create, Uber Ola kind of solution. And within no time, within 3 months, because there was a good funding in United States, Uber just came up with implementation. Mine was still stuck in, research paper, whereas they came up with the implementation within no time. So, of course, I was working in another company then, so I couldn't do it all by myself. However, the point is that if we wait, then somebody else grabs the opportunity. So we should not, wait for solving the problems or do innovations, just go for it. Okay, now this other part is, as I was mentioning earlier, right? If I know this area, this is my expertise, I can solve the problem, right? I should know what knowledge I have. The second thing is, we should be aware of is, who can help me in this particular area? When you think this problem exists, you have to go and reach out to the people. For example, in big organizations, this is one of the things that I've always seen in big organizations, especially, there are multiple disciplines, and HR is working in silos, finance is working in silos, and technical people are working in their own silos. Even each product, they work in their own silos. When we want to solve a problem, it doesn't exist in one particular space. It is something that's happening because of the delays or because of whatever happening across, right? So we should reach out to the appropriate people within no time, have no hesitation in reaching out, and then go for it. And of course, resources are always limited. They would say that I don't have time. However, you need to find people who are also having similar mindset to innovate. And that is when you can do innovation and you can solve the problems. You would make a difference for yourself, for the society, for your organization, all of it. So the third thing is there are certain things that won't be in our control. For example, if there is a government related, right, then we would see that this particular government or there'll be basically a lot of delays in responses, or sometimes they don't want to share information, etc. Then what happens is we won't be able to innovate in that area. So you better drop off that, pick up some other area where we can actually do it fast and innovate it faster. Okay, so that's my learning as well, because I have worked on some of the areas with the government, and then I had to drop off in data science, those particular things that I was looking at, and I had to pick up some of the data which is freelance. So this definitely is something that that is a hassle, and we wouldn't be able to go further. And the last but not the least is take less risk. So what you do not know, you don't need to get into. Whatever is your known area, please try to get into that and then create a difference. So this is one of the examples for the effectuation techniques by Sarasji Saras. So on the left hand side, you would see that it's a 5-star, kind of a kitchen, right? So wherein there are so many things that are being done to make a recipe. For one recipe, there are multiple ingredients, multiple processes, etc., very complex. However, when we are innovating, our resources are limited. Let's say we went to camping. What do we have? Do we have LPG? Do we have, advanced kitchen? No, right? What do we use? We are using a firewood stove. We just picked up some stones and we are using. And maybe we carried some rice or whatever, and then we are looking around for vegetables. Okay, some leaves are there, I pick up, or some fruits are there, maybe tomatoes, pick up and then make something and then have, right? We are not going to go hungry. That is the same approach that is required for innovation as well. We don't want to go hungry. We just want to solve the problem and we want to move on. And this is a simple way, but very effective way of saying how we need to have the spirit to solve the problems and do innovations. So there's another example wherein, we are going for shopping, we have all our list and picked up so many items. However, do we use all of them? Maybe not, right? Many of them would just be there in the wardrobe. We don't even pick them up. Whereas here we have a limited resource. However, we made a priority list and we picked up whatever is our priority, top priority. We are definitely using them. So this is another simple way of telling effectuation, how we could effectuate and then do innovation. We should never think that I don't have funds, so I don't want to do. No. We have something, whatever available, we have to make it prioritize and then solve whichever is the highest or biggest impact, whichever has highest impact, that particular problem you can solve with less money. Yeah, that's what we are looking at, right? So this is another interesting principle, and it's a systemic inventive thinking. So till now, we have seen that what are the constraints, how do we make sure that we have to reach out to others or etc., right? But how do I ideate, right? How can I ideate? How can I really think that this is the right way to solve this problem? So these are the 4 techniques that I mentioned. There are multiple techniques. Actually, there are about 25 techniques in this systematic inventive thinking. You can go Google further and then, you can go over all of them. However, I just want to cover all these 4 in this today's session. So one is addition, which is also unification, which is nothing but we actually have something existing today. I'm trying to add a new thing. For example, we discussed about the Amazon, right? I'm adding sending SMS to the customers. That's something that's been added. And the second one, the other one is multiplication. I have a product. I just divide that into multiple components, different components. Okay. And then I pick up one component and change it in some way, or multiply that into 2 or 3 and then add that. Then this becomes like a new component. We see some of the examples. So similarly is the subtraction, wherein we are removing one essential component out of the components that we have listed out. Okay. And division is again similarly, we are trying to remove the main essential component and then we are preserving some components and creating a combination. Okay. So let's go over each of them and then with examples. So as I just said, one of the things is that we are adding. However, one thing that we always need to remember is we have to visualize the resulting product. So I would like to highlight upon this. Let's say I added something. If it's not appealing to the users or the buyers, would it sell? No, right? So that is one of the essential things that we need to identify the user needs and challenges and brainstorm within the group and then modify the product in order to make it successful. So why every innovation is not successful? There are a lot of things that are happening. However, they don't come out. They're not successful is because of this missing part, that they're not visualizing the resulting product and the user focus on the user is gone down somewhere, right? So everybody likes Apple. Why do we like Apple? Because of the user experience that it created, right? It's so expensive, but all of us want Apple. iPod, at least one device we'll have, if not one or the other, right? iPod, iPhone, or Apple Watch, at least one of them we want to have. Why is it so? Because it creates that user experience, the appeal, and we really feel good when we see, right? That's very, very important. What are the user needs? We should accommodate and we should visualize the resulting product. So let's look at some of the examples. So this is one, my favorite example. I do not know how many of you must have seen this old phone. Okay. The old phone, feature-rich phone, it's called. Okay. We used to call features, but no smartness in it. Right? So when we added cameras, what is it that we're adding? We added cameras. It created the user experience like anything, and then everybody started taking pictures, sending to others, right? It created so much of traffic. In this phone, there's nothing that was being really used. So this is an addition example. A camera is a phone is a phone. We are adding a camera into it. We just call smartphone, but actually it's a camera phone, right? Camera plus phone. So this is addition. Who thought of adding a camera? So this another example is the traditional pressure cooker. So we electrified it and then we added a delay timer, and at the same time we also added timer for the pressure cooking, right? How long it does pressure cooking. So when we added this became altogether a new product. What's the price of this? What's the price of this? And how many takers are there for instant pot? I'm pretty sure that you must be aware of that. A lot of people, especially working people who are all having time crunch, they all want instant pot, right? So this is an innovation where we just added like 2 or 3 small things, and then it became it created an innovation, and then it changes the world, right? So this is another interesting example. So what's added here? It's a razor. I don't need to carry a separate eraser, right? How many of us do use this kind of pencil? Many of us. So there's another example, of course, watch to a smartwatch, which is, of course, doing a lot of other things. It's communicating with our phone as well, right? What is this? There's a lipstick on the left side, and on the right side, it has a lipstick plus glow. So usually people use lipstick and then apply glow on top of it. Here it's a combined product. So we are adding glow to the lipstick, and it's like it created a new market altogether. And what do you think of this on the right hand side? If you think it's a cream biscuit, no, you're mistaken. It is ice cream biscuit. Okay, so somebody in the food industry came up with this idea of ice cream biscuit, and it's so successful with kids, and I'm pretty sure parents are as well happy, because they're eating not just ice cream, along with that they're eating biscuit as well. So this is something that I really like about. There's a toothbrush, but the toothbrush on the right side has a motor added to it. So the motor, right, how does it function? It has a longitudinal movement to give that movement. At the same time, it also has rotational movement. So who uses it? Most of the people, who's challenged, or very senior citizens who are unable to, handle brush all by themselves, toothbrush all by themselves. So they use these devices. So it's a very, very innovative idea, isn't it? So let's move on now to the next process of multiplication, right? So as we discussed again, we list all the components, we multiply, all that fine. What do we need to not forget? We have to visualize the resulting product and identify the user needs. When we modify, we have to take feedback. And of course, there are a lot of lean ways of doing these things, right? When we modify the product, we wouldn't launch it in a high scale, but we would launch to only few customers. We'd see how the response is, and then it would go to the large scale, right? So these are some of the techniques that can be applied in order to save the cost. However, if we look at, one of the important things is we should have visualization, how the product would look like after I do the changes, right? That is what is nothing but ideation, and that is what we would be discussing, okay? So this is another example for multiplication. Here we have a dry vacuum cleaning. Here we added a wet vacuum cleaning as well. So this is like we divided that into components, right? We are multiplying it into 2. So it does 2 functionalities now. So the next one is, again, time. So what is it? What's the difference between smartwatch and this watch? This watch is having 2 dials to represent 2 time zones. Okay. So you can have maybe time at Pacific time, and you can have India, IST time, something like that, right? Or especially in United States, many people work with, some people are there in Eastern time and Pacific time. They really need to know both timings, right? So those guys would be using these kind of watches who really interact with those specific time zones. So this is an interesting one, and it's a engineering marvel, I would say. I do not know who created this. This is just a stool, right? It's multiplied into 3. So it's a step stool. That's what we call. However, you see, it acts as a ladder. It acts as a stool also. This is my favorite. Reason being, it was done probably when all these techniques weren't known. However, these techniques were applied, right? This is another example where, a sellotape with one side gum. The gum is there on 2 sides. Then it becomes a dual one, right? Which we can use for sticking anything. So, and here this is, as the name suggests, it's a bifocal lens. So 2 lenses are there. Here, Swiss knife, it's multiplied by X or N. I do not know how many are there. So, however, there are a lot of people who go for camping or something, right? For such purposes, they do take just one Swiss knife, and it serves all the purpose for them. And this is a Gillette blade. So it's a razor. It is just one earlier. It was just one earlier, I think in 1900s or so. Till then it was just one. And Gillette found, and then he added these razors, multiple blades, etc. He actually had that dual blade system, right? Two sides used to have blade. However, today we have like up to 5. I'm not sure. Somebody can update me on, if there are 7 or 9. This is what I could just find. So this is another innovation, right? Which is actually creating a craze, and everybody, it's not just craze, because people are happy to use that product as well, right? That they want to buy that. It's like creating new market. For example, this was the light. Now there are LED lights. So there are so many colors in LED light, and then we do use all of them, right? So this is the next one, which is subtraction. Subtraction, as we discussed, we would remove one essential component. However, we can replace this function with something else. And of course, when we modify the product, it has to improve the functionality, or the customers or users should be able to be happy with it. That's when it becomes innovation, right? That, let's not forget that it has to create a value. It has to either create a market, or it has to save cost, or something that is bringing in value onto the table. That is when it is, the idea is ideation to innovation, it becomes. So this is a washing machine example, wherein we can see that the tub from the washing machine is removed to make it, portable washing machine. So here we just added a bucket, but instead of that, you could add any tub or anything, whatever you have, bathtub, you could just use to wash clothes, right? And this is a smartphone. What's removed from that is smartness. When we remove smartness, who uses this? Again, challenge people and, very senior citizens who are not comfortable using. When they touch something, it just starts installing. They are not comfortable with all those. Those kind of people do need some devices, right? And this is one of them. So on the left-hand side is recorder, tape recorder. So what did we remove of? Of course, we digitized that, and we removed the recording functionality, which is the major functionality, right? We call it tape recorder, but recording is removed. So what is this? This became an iPod, which is a super duper hit in the market. So here, what did we remove? We removed the cable from the traditional telephony, right? Telephone. And then when we removed the cable, it became cordless. So we are able to move around and walk and talk, all this, right? So we are creating mobility and portability to this by removing the main thing that was used, right? And here is the example of a bicycle. We removed the mobility from this. Then what happened? We also added, of course, the springs and the weight, so that when somebody exercises, they could check how much how much of calories they're losing out, right? And that's very important. So that's the new thing, functionality that's added. However, what did they remove? They removed the mobile part. So this is another one. What is removed is the frame. So then it became a contact lens. So from this, we removed all these bowls, and then, we kind of created that into a blender, right? So now what does a blender do? Of course, you just need to remove the small attachments, and then you can multi-purpose and use it for many things. So the next one is division. So let's not get confused with division and other things, right? So a division is something that we are based on functional or physical. We are just doing and trying to pick up and come up with internal components, right? Let's say, for example, physical components, how do we do, right? We will pick, and then, based on the physically what we can see, we'll remove each of them and make a list, and then probably remove some of them, and probably we'll add some of them. Okay. However, we need to, of course, visualize the changed product, and then that product should be successful. Only then it's innovation, right? So this is one of the examples wherein we have a oven here. We removed it. There's a fixed rack here, right? We kind of removed that and we created a rack that could be used for serving also. Okay. So we physically removed that, and then we have made it into a separate entity, right? And that is what is division. See, another example is electric flex box. So what did we remove? Here a wall is a must. It's fixed to the wall. We just removed that wall, and we kind of physically removed all these plugs and then aligned them. What did we add in addition to that is this cable. So with that, we created a new electric flex box. So these are some of the things that I'm just touching and giving an idea of how we could apply these techniques, right, in order to innovate. So these chips, if it's bulk 1 chips, then it's this. If I physically divide them and add so many flavors to it, it's multiple, right? I'm creating a new market. So I like this, I like this, I like this, I pick up all of them. So a person who would probably buy 1 chips would get bored and would not buy. Now today they'll buy multiple chips, right? So there are a lot of options available in the market. So this is another example of color cartridge. So here all the colors are filled in already. Whereas we divided that into gray, blue, and this purple and cyan, right? All of them. And then if, let's say, gray gets over, I would just fill gray. If just blue gets over, I would just change this alone, right? This is like cost saving for all the customers. So there would be many takers for this kind of innovation, right? Because of the cost saving. Yeah, the last one, I'm not sure if it's the last one, but this is like one of my favorite. The thing is that this is a rocket, right? A rocket has a propulsion system. Propulsion system is used in order that it kind of gives a thrust so that the rocket should move out of the Earth's orbit. Once the rocket moves out of Earth's orbit, right, it doesn't need any propulsion. Whatever is its initial force, the same force would act and it would keep moving without any energy, okay, or fuel, basically. So once the propulsion is given and it's about to, get off the Earth's orbit, the propulsion system is no more required in the rocket. Then it's creating only weight. So what the system works in such a way that it's created in such a way that the propulsion system drops off, so that the weight from the rocket is reduced. Okay, there could be like 4 propulsions, or it could be multiple, depending on, and there could be stages in it. However, what happens is it's just physically detached and removed from it, divided and removed from it. So this is one of the best examples that we can remember for the division system, right? I mean, to apply the principle of division. So this is another example wherein we could see that here the seat is there, wheels are added, and we are adding, right? The seat is removed. Maybe it's there, however, you are basically adding that physical component and also the wheels, and then making it into this extra space, right, which could be used by others. This is another example where we are having a remote. We remove remote. Basically, here is a music system, and on the right hand side is a car music system, right? The music system in the car. So what we don't need is a remote. So we divided this into speakers. We divided this into the main functionality, whatever we want to play with, and we also divided it into physically, right? The remote, we do not need remote, so we removed that part. We removed speakers. Speakers can be attached separately in the car, so we are also using them, however, based on what the customer wants, right? However, we also have the main functionality here in the car music system, right? So this is one of the examples of division where we are dividing it functionally or physically, and then we are adding or modifying based on what is required by the customers. So here are a couple of questions that I just wrote. So any of you can think that, oh, why should I definitely become innovator, right? I don't want to be an innovator. Yeah, you don't need to be, unless you want to create a difference for yourself. Okay, so it is not that you are just trying to create difference for the society, or you're just trying to create a difference for the organization. If you want to make a difference for your own self, right? I want to live a life like this tomorrow. I would want to think about that. And that is nothing but my creativity, my thought process, my imagination. And you take it to next level, you are just ideating, and you take it to next level, it becomes innovation. Okay. Give me a moment, sorry. So I think we already discussed who can become innovator. I'm pretty sure if you are all doing MBA, some of you must be engineers, or some of you must be also having technical background, science background. You all can innovate in different areas, right? It's my favorite. So, so sorry. So this is my favorite, right? So how does innovation act as my motivator? So when I innovate, I'm not just innovating, I'm also going and discussing with other people, right? And I'm motivating them. They're also taking part in innovation. Maybe not just yours, they're also thinking, they're also ideating. They come up with much more innovations. And it is a cycle, and it's a super spreader. So the whole organization gets motivated this way. So you're creating altogether a different environment around you. So, I mean, that's exactly what the reason I put this up. These are the general principles that we already discussed. One of them is, first we need to identify what are the problems. In order to understand or identify the problem, we need to know what's happening, right? So when we join any organization or anywhere, first thing we need to know is we need to understand what's happening there, right? We have to be part of the organization, and that's when we know what's happening, and and immediately we need to discuss the problems, we need to ideate, imagine, also apply the principles that we already discussed. And this has to happen in multiple cycles. Of course, brainstorming also has to happen in multiple cycles in order that we come up with innovation. And with this, I think I'm almost done. So yeah, I open for Q&A. Can I go and then look at?
Yes, ma'am. So I can take up the questions, ma'am. It was indeed a very informative and a very valuable session, ma'am.
Yes.
So now we can take up the Q&A question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm learning. So it's like open only, I need to pick, right?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, the first, yes.
I'm learning, yeah, Sanjeev Kumar. I'm learning is as of now is that innovation is must this generation. Without innovation, our survival is very tough in the future.
So he has
Yeah,
mentioned
I think, yeah, you answered it yourself, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. So yes, you are right. That's what I do believe in. However, I was saying, right, innovation is not something that, it's a big thing as such. It's just our imagination, our thought process, and that is exactly what translates into innovation.
Next is Ms. Nancy Kumari.
Nancy Kumari. My learning is from this session is innovation is everywhere. We just need to grab this opportunity. Absolutely, Miss Nancy. We need to grab the opportunity. And, as I was saying that, I wanted to grab the opportunity. However, I lost sometimes. At the same time, I got sometimes as well. Okay. So I could work on some systems and then, which became very, very successful. So it's always that we have to keep doing it. We shouldn't stop. Okay, Miss Divya, learning from the day is everyone is innovative. Just need to identify our strength. Absolutely, Miss Divya. Dr. Arvind Rao, how do you effectively prototype, striking the right balance between speed, resources deployed, and learning? It is very, very difficult, and we need to figure out it's different for every organization, I think, and it is very contextual. Because when I was working in a big organization, I was actually working in Cisco for quite a long time. When I was working in Cisco, initially we were not, even I wasn't aware of innovation. However, I was probably innovating, and then I was doing all the products innovation. There was no opportunity for me to look beyond. So it also depends on that. How do we do? And when the effectuation techniques, etc., when I came across, and then I started applying to myself, right? I started reaching out to the people whom I need to in order to solve the problems. And for that, of course, networking does play a role. It's not just others, but also networking plays a role. So it's very, very important that we keep up our network, and we should know whom to contact for what kind of problem and who would be interested in solving that along with us, right? I hope I answered that.
Next is by Ms. Rekha N. She has given her learning, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, I learned today from the session is that for innovation, we don't need much investment. We need to be more creative, and we need to be more research oriented.
Yes, Rekha, I think you're right. You need to definitely be creative and research oriented.
Next is Jitendra Reddy. So he has also mentioned many learning from today's session. Thank you so much, madam, for the detailed session on innovation. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jitendra.
Mr. Aruna Guru, innovation is the mother of invention. Is it true, madam?
Innovation is the mother of invention. Yes, I would say yes, because see, invention is in a way, yes. However, innovation is something that we usually add, okay? But invention, when we say, right, it is something that you're trying to create the whole thing altogether. So it's very different. Invention is not innovation. Innovation is something that you can do in smaller proportions and then add on, and then over a period of time, you would build. Whereas invention isn't like that. Invention is something that you would do, which is like, trying to come up with, let's say, like you came up with a product that's doing like most of the things what we expected, right? Day one. That is invention. Innovation is in that. Invention is a small change also, is an invention that's bringing in value add, and of course it is trying to solve some problem. I hope that answers. Now, Mr. Ibrahim Khan, good evening everyone. Thank you for the super awesome session, amazing session. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim.
Next is Mr. Mohan Kumar. Yes. So can you please give some examples in the field of advertisement for innovation?
Advertisement for innovation. Okay, I haven't really thought about this. Yeah, however, yes, it is possible because, I have been doing myself some kind of customer segmentation for the OTT platforms in the sense that, it's platforms like Netflix, or it's platforms like Alt Balaji, those kind of platforms, wherein people just go and watch, right? So the videos. What I'm actually looking at is how do we do customer segmentation for those? So when we look at certain age group, right? So this particular, or it also happens in YouTube, right? When they in YouTube, when we watch, they're also looking at our profile. For example, let's say I'm watching my age, my gender, my all the interesting areas, and what particular videos I'm watching is being observed by the artificial intelligence platforms. So they use artificial intelligence to check what are my interests. And then this is what is used to project advertising. For example, they might show some clothing ads to me, right? They might not necessarily show those to children. To children who watch, especially cartoons, etc., they show chocolate ad, right? And this is what is happening today, and there is a lot of innovation possible in advertising. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah. Next is Abhinav Yadav. He has asked, what is innovation in finance?
In finance, let me think of, okay, finance means I'm thinking that budget allocation, etc. Am I right, Professor?
Yes, ma'am, it might.
It might be, right? Because I'm new to finance area. I mean, I do not deal with much finance. So let's say that if budget allocation is being done, right? Or you could also think of this way, right? Costing, right? For example. So
even investment portfolios.
Etc. Okay, yeah, that's another area, right? Yeah. So yeah, investment portfolios definitely yes. Artificial intelligence is being used a lot in that area, and data science is applied a lot. Data analytics are used because there are predictions that we do, right? Like how much it can go up based on various parameters. So these are all going to transform into what kind of market dynamics are happening, how market transitions are happening. Would the company who's investing right now, let's say in a particular segment, right? Let's say in cars, for example, right? If people are trying to invest in cars which are like run on petrol, would it have good market later down the line 10 years? I'm not sure, right? Why Tesla cars are being used much more often, why green cars are coming into place, right? Whereas those kind of things, predictions, right, are really useful, like artificial intelligence and various techniques. You can come up with a lot of innovations in that to create a process as to, how the markets would be. So many things are possible. So it's just like, I think I'm not an expert in finance. However, I'm pretty sure that you can find yourself and do a lot of innovations in that area. I hope I gave some hints there.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the last one is Mr. Samir S. Surani. How to win others' confidence for our innovation, which is next to impossible for other people?
I am not, which is next to impossible for others.
Means for them to accept, yes, this is innovation and you win over the innovation, how to make them accept that?
How to make them accept that? I think unless they see that problem exists, right, people would not accept that, there is a scope for improvement, correct? So this is more of a acceptance issue that problem exists, and people want to look at the, status quo, and they would like to run companies in status quo, then they will not be able to. And I personally think that companies which think in status quo cannot actually last long, because when I joined, at least Cisco, right, like 15, 20 years back, I don't exactly remember the date. One thing that I was taught there is that change is constant. So what you can expect in Cisco is always change. You will never have status quo. So when there is status quo, the company cannot grow, right? It's actually accepting that and staying stagnant, which means that it will not even be stagnant and constant. It's actually going down in the path because it's not coping up with the market, right? So that is something that I'm not sure why somebody would do that. Then definitely that's not the right place for me to stay if I'm personally there. Okay.
As you were repeatedly mentioning that when it is adding value and people are able to identify the value in it,
yes,
then obviously they will understand that yes, there is an innovation in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to put it positively, yes, any company or anybody personally who want to invest on themselves is the one who would grow. Okay, yeah. You want to grow, you have to invest, and we need to make sure others also understand that around us, right? And it's our responsibility to tie up and then collaborate with the people who are in line with us. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We are done with the question answer session. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really an informative and very beneficial session.
Thank you so much, Professor Soumya, and thank you a lot. I enjoyed too interacting with all these young minds. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yes, ma'am. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. The more you express gratitude for that you have, the more likely you will even more express gratitude for. I, Professor Soumya, on behalf of GIBS Business School and the entire GIBS fraternity, extend my most sincere thanks to Aparna Vellala, ma'am. Thank you for enlightening us about the principles of innovation, ma'am. Thank you all for the useful tips and the information that you shared with us. I'm sure that this session will surely help the audience to understand more about the customer experience, the innovation, and what are all the various principles they have to apply on it, etc. I extend my sincere thanks to all our associates, beloved students, and the education fraternity for making today's session a resounding success. GIBS always believe in seeing is believing. I bet you will love the state-of-art corporate infrastructure, and you also love meeting the team of innovative minds at GIBS who believes in spreading the power of positivity. Looking forward to meet you all in person at our campus. Thank you, one and all. GIBS is known for knowledge sharing and its hospitality. Please experience by visiting our campus. Ma'am, please do visit us whenever it is possible. And an important announcement, GIBS is inviting you to our next IRE talk on Basics of Research by Professor Alok Kumar, Assistant Professor, Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, on May 26, 2022 at 5 p.m. You can watch the video of all the previous webinars in YouTube. The e-certificate of this webinar will be sent to the registered email ID by 21st May 2022. Kindly follow us on all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook. Be with us always. Have a great evening. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you all the audience.
Thank you so much. I too had pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.